conscious leader has really a greater impact in the world and an organization and in society than pretty much anybody else. So.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. With me, excited to have Dr. Ron Stotts. How are you doing today?
Doing great, actually. Yeah, I went to the doctor's yesterday and got a total clean bill of health. I'm going to go play golf this afternoon. Life is good.
Man, that sounds always good to go to the doctor and get a clean bill of health, right?
Yeah.
And the doctor and the dentist, I love going to the dentist and they're like, your teeth are great. Like, thank you. Awesome. So a little bit about Ron. He's a 3 times best-selling author with a PhD in psychology and doctor of chiropractic. He's explored the depths of ancient wisdom and the latest in psychological, neurological studies and leadership, and he guides entrepreneurs, executives into the highest levels of conscious leadership. So, wanted to bring you on to talk about leadership. I think it's such an important topic to really talk about, and for people that are entrepreneurs, business owners, leaders to actually be thinking about being thoughtful with. So, with that being said, give us a little bit more about your background and we'll dive in.
Well, I've got a lot of background through the years.
Anything that I maybe missed, I guess I should have said. So anything I should have missed, and then we'll dive into your company and what you got going on.
Well, what I found is that I was, really looking for, in my I've had great success in my life, and I feel very fortunate about that. But I was really looking for, well, what's next? And this was about 10, 15 years ago. And my publisher suggested that I explore leadership more fully. And I'd certainly worked with some incredible leaders, owners of NFL teams and a few folks that owned, national, international businesses. And so I was very comfortable with that, but why would I focus on that? And he said, well, conscious leaders, which happens to be my ability to take people into those higher levels of consciousness and higher levels of conscious leadership, conscious leaders can have the most significant, impactful, significant and lasting impact on a societal level. Certainly on an organizational level, but on a societal level also. And my kind of hidden agenda is to create a more conscious and caring world, because I think that we can thrive more fully in that world. And so it's like, if I can create, 1,000 conscious leaders, then all of their people are going to be supported in that way. And so that's what brings me into this phase of my life where I'm working with some pretty amazing, certainly incredibly successful people that are ready to shift out of the old style leadership into a more conscious leadership.
Yeah, like it. What makes the best leaders? When you see the leaders that are really successful, like what makes the best leaders, and can that be replicated, or is it just like a God-given ability?
It's a great question, and I really do, because I've worked with hundreds of them now, and I think we all have that potential. Some of us are playing out that potential, but if you look at leadership, there's different phases of leadership that we go through. Most people kind of stop at the mid-level where they're an achiever or expert, but there is the 3 top levels that only about 10% of people step into, and anybody could step into those if they're willing to explore, and it's not outer stuff that they need to explore, but more about themselves. As one of my incredibly successful clients said, that he never realized how much hand in hand personal and professional development goes, or, and how important it is. And, so you really, people come to me, they've been extremely successful. Oftentimes they're bumping up against something and kind of doubled down using their old tools and not working any longer. And so what I introduce them to is the concept that they really just need to access more of who and what they are. They've been looking outside of themselves for the new tool, the new gimmick, the new whatever. And it's really no, accessing more of who and what you are. And that really is accessing greater mental ability to, most of my clients have gone to, Harvard or Stanford. They're very smart and, left brain logically got them into the right schools, and that got them into the right jobs. And then that got them into the levels of success that they're having. But all of a sudden they're that's not working to allow them to continue to expand. And sometimes it's even falling apart. And their relationships maybe at home are not doing as well as they'd like, and so on. So that's when developing greater self-awareness and emotional intelligence comes into play, so that they can be more supportive of others and bring out the best in them, so that it's not all, so that you're creating a safe, supportive team that are collaborating, cooperating together, so that you can be more productive and profitable.
Love it.
And
Well, you mentioned you mentioned critical leader. You're not just a leader, you're critical leader. So what is a critical leader? Like how is that differentiating? Explain to me who a critical leader is.
I think in terms of when I step into a company, and sometimes the CEO's brought me in, sometimes one of the C-suites, but what I see is generally people are running their organization and their ego is just splashed all over the organization. Their control issues, fears, their desires, their
Yeah.
all of their issues around not, not being able to communicate or relate with people or whatever it might be. And so, that's when a lot of people go into what I call more, it's really out of fear, but they go into more of a control mode. I remember I was helping AT&T go through their divestiture from a monopoly into five um, for-profit organizations. And having dinner one night with the three top dogs of the company, and they asked me, well, what do you think? I'd spent a year going through all the, different organizations within the US, and they said, what do you think? And I said, well, it reminds me of the Johnson family. You guys are dad, the managers are mom, and all the kids are the employees. And your guys are running from a very top-down controlling way, and everybody is scared to death to say anything. Nobody's contributing. Everybody knows just to keep their head down
Hmm.
and keep marching until they reach retirement. And they were a little startled by that, but we had all had a drink or two, and so they were willing to open up and accept that. And that was really, that's nice guys, but they were running in the old, the 50s, and that's when that style of leadership was really encouraged and developed.
Yep.
They were running that top down, do what I say, do as I, and do as I direct you to do. And so they weren't bringing out the best in everybody.
Hmm.
Nobody felt safe. Nobody felt empowered. Nobody felt like they were part of something that, they wanted to contribute to. So they weren't really getting the most out of their people. And people weren't, one team wouldn't tell another team, what was going on, because they were kind of competing teams and wanted to look good in front of the leadership. And so you end up really undermining the organization. And so as you bring in a whole new mindset where you're more coming from more self-aware and emotionally intelligent mindset, you create a safer environment where people feel like they're part of something important and they want to contribute to that. And all of a sudden they start cooperating, collaborating, and productivity goes up and profitability goes up. And all the research shows that they make a heck of a lot more money. I mean, at least 40%, and oftentimes even much, much greater than that.
Hmm. Yeah. It's interesting. You definitely the old way of leadership, and I can think back. I mean, even when I was, and that was that changed a lot, right? But some companies that I've been involved in, very, very top down leadership. And it's the clock puncher, essentially that's who I think you get, right? They're just showing up. They're there for their time that they got to be there. They're going to punch the clock and they're going to go home. And they're certainly they're there, but they're not giving their full potential.
Yeah.
They're there giving their minimum just to continue to get their paycheck.
Want the paycheck. They're looking for retirement. That's all
That's
they
it.
care about.
Yep. 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 And that doesn't work anymore today because people aren't like that as much anymore. You don't have as many people that are willing to put up with it. I think there was a lot of pride into getting into a company and staying there for your entire career or close to it, or being in one or two at the most, right? Like you think of my dad who is 80 right now. I think he had a job with two companies total
Right.
in his entire career. But that was the mindset of people then. Today's mindset is not the same.
Yeah, I mean, with the rapid change, increased complexity of today's business world, you can't have that old mindset that, well, let me see what we did 5 years ago. I mean, you've got to have a mindset that's agile enough and present enough that you can make a decision in that moment and move forward. And that's a whole different world. And you need a team that's supporting and part of that because, you're you're different. It doesn't matter where somebody is in the organization. They know what's going on in that part of the organization. And if they can make a change in that part of the organization, then it's going to enhance it.
Yeah.
I remember I just gotten out of the Marine Corps. I went to work for a boat company, and they gave me I think $1.25 an hour, or whatever ridiculous amount it was. And I was just working on the assembly line, and in one lunch period, I took a legal pad and I kind of went through and I said, well, here's, and how could we organize and do this differently? And I went in and I was going to share it with my boss, and the owner happened to be in there. And so, I just showed them the layout and how if all the tools were there, people wouldn't be running all over and we wouldn't have things stolen. And they were just blown away by this basically Ford assembly line sort of concept that, I wasn't doing it to impress anybody. I just was tired of, the chaos. But, the next day I was moved into production manager of Islander yachts and,
Mm.
in a meeting with guys that have been there 20, 25 years and I'd been there a few months. And, so, that it doesn't matter where you are in a company. If you really paying attention and you contribute, that's the leadership they're looking for, and that's what's going to move you forward. That's what's going to bring you into those higher levels of leadership. Yeah, just because you're playing consciously.
Give me a tangible scenario or example of an owner of a company being a critical leader, and how that develop like a scenario. What happens? What have you seen somebody doing that you say that's a critical, like that person is being an excellent leader. They're doing exactly what I think a company should be doing. They're really empowering their employee, all that kind of stuff. Like, give me an example of what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few of them that, post doing the work. But I mean, what happens is they a lot of times, say somebody comes in and they're micromanaging, say they have multiple organizations and they're micromanaging all of them and they're finally overwhelmed, they can't keep up, things are falling apart. And usually their home life, things are falling apart and other aspects of their life aren't working, their health or whatever it is. And so that's when they come. That's when they go, okay, I surrender, I've got to do something different.
Yeah.
And so, as they explore doing some in-depth personal healing, as they become more self-aware and emotionally intelligent, they be become more aware of what they're feeling, and that allows them to become more aware of what other people are feeling. They become more compassionate and empathetic, not only with themselves, but others. And in that, others begin to start feeling safer, and you start encouraging them more because you're not afraid, that old belief system that, well, if I encourage them, then they won't perform as well. You begin to look at, well, no, if I, and I often ask, would that work with your kids? And they go, oh, well, no.
Right.
The more I support them, the better they do. And so people start supporting their employees, and that brings out the best in the employees. The employees start contributing more. And as they, contribute more, then all of a sudden they start cooperating and collaborating with each other. And that results in greater productivity and profits. And, across the board, that's, if you want to make more money, then lead more consciously. And, then home life, I think that's where everybody's surprised because all of a sudden their relationships are, with their kids, with their significant other, all of a sudden has changed, tremendously. Just
Hmm.
whole life is enhanced just because they connected more fully with themselves and begin to recognize, oh, my relationship with myself is really being mirrored in my relationship with others. And as they heal that, as they connect with themselves, as they open up their heart, and that quite literally neurologically helps them open up their mind, they begin to access greater levels of mental agility. The emotional backlog really clogs the brain with that 90% of subconscious thoughts. It creates a noisy mind. And so, it's like, well, how much of your energy are you putting on the gas pedal of life and how much on the brake of life? You quiet that mind down so that you can access integrated whole brain thinking, gives you access to a much more agile, capable mind of dealing with all of that, the challenges in business today. And you have to have that. And, for me, I look at the introduction of AI, and a lot of people are asking me, well, isn't that kind of a dangerous thing? And I go, depends who you are. If I have fully capable access to my higher level thinking, then AI is a great tool because I'm up to speed with that. If it's not, then it's this threatening, well, yeah, something that intimidates me rather than, that I can explore and enjoy.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's a tool and there's a ton of tools out there and it depends on how you use that tool, certainly. So how was a tool to open up your mind, your whole brain thinking? Um, there's got to be some tools that you utilize that allow leaders to be able to really open their mind up.
Mhm. Well, all I'm doing is reverse engineering what they've done in the past. When as a child, they wanted unconditional love more than anything else, as an example. And so they came up with a program in their childhood to, okay, how do I maximize the amount of love and acceptance I can get within this family of origin or from others and that kind of thing. And oftentimes we discover that, well, if I get angry, that's not good. And if in my generation, feeling fear was not accepted. So
Hmm.
I kind of had to shove anger down. I had to shove fear down, and hurt kind of went along with those two. And so, I ended up really not really being in touch with my emotions because I was stifling most of them to fit the
Hmm.
image of being a man,
Hmm.
culminated in me going to the Marine Corps and losing about several dozen friends in Vietnam. And, so you have to, I was basically letting everybody else decide who I was going to be so that I could be accepted and loved by them.
Yeah.
And at some point, I said, well, that sucks. So
Yeah.
I'm going to take my life back. And so I'm going to heal my past and learn to love and accept myself so that I'm not looking outside of myself for that. And so, we, and I ask clients this all the time, what's the first thing you do when some emotion comes up that you're uncomfortable with? And they notice, oh, I stopped breathing. Okay, so that's step one. And then what do you do? Well, I shove that emotion down into my gut. Okay, that's step two. And then you make sure that door is closed tight on that cave door so that nobody can even see it and you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, okay. So, so you reverse engineer it. Then you go, okay, so let's breathe. Let's, breathe into that. Let's begin to acknowledge our feelings. Let's open that door. Let's begin to express those feelings so that we can become more emotionally intelligent and aware. And as we do that, we become more accepting of ourselves and that allows us to take better care of ourselves. And as we continue that journey, which was more focused on us, we begin to recognize, oh, you know, I'm becoming more aware of how to support others and bring out the best in others. And so it goes.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, one of the things that struck me is when you're talking about like other people, like living up to other people's expectations. It's so hard to not do that. I was actually recording a solo podcast episode this morning, and I was just talking through some things. And as I'm talking through, I'm like, realized that when I was growing my business, one of the things that held me back was listening to people, mainly my parents, that would say, make sure you don't scale too fast, make sure you don't grow too big. And so that actually
Fear.
created fear of me that I was scaling too fast, growing too. Are you sure you're sure you can handle this growth? And I thought, oh yeah, you know what you know what they say, if people grow too fast in their business. And not that you want to go out there and just do things willy nilly, but it put that fear into me to go, okay, I need to slow down versus going to the next level. So yeah, just it's so hard because there's so much whether it's there's all this like subconscious, like you said, you had to be a man, you had to go to the military, you had to like there's certain things that were just expectations at that time that you had to do to be a man. You had to do those things, and that's what you believed you needed to do. It wasn't what you necessarily wanted to do or should have done. It's just what was fed to you.
I mean, I remember in the Marine Corps, I'd been a U.S. rowing champion, so I was buff. I could do physically just about anything, and so the Marine Corps was just another sporting event for me.
Yeah.
Like, can I hit the target? Can I do all these things? But one morning, it was a truly fog morning in San Diego, or in actually Camp Pendleton, and instead of raising a circle, a target, they raised a human silhouette. And my
Mm,
little 19-year-old mind all of a sudden recognized that, oh, what I'm becoming the best at is killing human beings, not, winning trophies.
mm.
And that woke me up on a level that, I mean, I literally jumped up and threw my rifle down there was no thought process. And of course, the Marine Corps doesn't look kindly on those things. So but I had to really step out of that culture that my dad had been in World War II. So it's like, well, this is what men do. And, I had to step out and go, okay, who am I? What are my beliefs? Who do I want to be? What's my
Yeah.
highest intention? Who do I need to be to live that life? And that's what I've been doing.
Hmm. That's really cool. Yeah. Having that man, yeah, having that epiphany, like I'm not just shooting at a target. Like
Right.
they're not training me to shoot a target. Man, oh man,
Yeah.
that's tough. Um, why is this such a important topic to you? Leadership and creating good leaders. What's why is it important to you?
I'm of an age that I'm probably going to be gone before all hell breaks loose on the planet. The ecology and the politics that are going on, and make me wonder how quickly that might happen now. But the truth is, I have kids and I've got great grandkids, and they're going to be around, and that quite literally struck me in the middle of gardening one day, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to really do. If I'm going to be in integrity with who I am, then I'm going to have to create a more conscious and caring world so that I'm leaving that world for my great grandkids to live in. And so that's when I realized that leaders, as I might have mentioned earlier, they have a conscious leader has really a greater impact in the world and an organization and in society than pretty much anybody else. So
Yeah, so true.
yeah, and I happen to have this rare talent of really guiding people into those conscious levels of leadership, so that they can lead from that more conscious place. And sometimes people have 2,000 employees, and I watch that shift within them go throughout their organization. They'll send me maybe several of their C-suites that then become CEOs of their different organizations, and but they're all doing it from a conscious place. And the truth is they make a ton more money, but they also have an organization that's optimally working, and people are enjoying their life.
Yeah, and you have good leaders and bad leaders. And regardless if you're a leader, you're going to be making an impact. So I think most people would rather make a good impact and be a good leader than we all remember the bad leaders too, right? I mean, we've all had them, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a boss, it doesn't matter who it is, a manager. We've all had a bad leader before. Um, let's be good leaders and make the best impact we can
Bad
on this.
leaders have a huge effect on people's lives, and
Yeah,
so let's do it differently.
yeah, absolutely. I love that. Um, what is a challenge that you see most of or a lot of your clients facing? And how are they, I guess, correcting that challenge or improving upon themselves to face that challenge?
I think the biggest challenge, and it sounds rather simplistic, but we're addicted to looking outside of ourselves
Hmm.
for what's next. How do I grow? What do I need? What do I do? We're addicted to looking outside of ourselves for things that can only be found within ourselves.
Hmm.
And that's possibly the biggest impact that I have, at least initially, is to support people and guide people into going on that inner journey, to looking within themselves, which is where they always find the cause of the problem and the solution to the problems. And that might be a myriad of symptoms in their life that they're unaware that they're connected, but they look within themselves and go, oh, there's the origin of that. That's what needs to be healed so that I can be different and serve differently.
That's really powerful. You're right. It's so simple, but it's so true that most of us are looking for everything besides just us, right? We're looking for the magic pill. We're looking somebody else has got to solve the problem for us, right? Or with us, or let's get like there's got to be something other than just us. Like we're looking outside of ourselves always. I don't know why is that? Is it the we don't want to blame ourselves. It's got to be an easier way or what, like, what's the
Fear,
reason why we're always looking outside of ourselves?
fear, because you have to grow.
Fear.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's in my world, it's like whatever comes into my life, say I'm feeling stressed or emotional or something, those to me are just gifts. Those are just indicators that there's a part of me that's ready to be healed and
Mm.
evolve. And so, yay, if I'm running up against something, I know that there's a gift available from that. Yeah, it might be, gee, I wish I didn't have to deal with that. But I also really celebrate it and take the time to nurture myself so that I can explore that and heal whatever's there and move forward in my life, access those parts of myself that are available now. And that allows me to become more whole, more authentic, more confident, more, you know, do what I do in a better way, be a better person.
Is it like maybe like growing, building your muscles? You're going to be sore sometimes, but if you're
Yeah,
building yourself, you're going to have some stresses sometimes, but
yeah. It can be a
ultimately
little
that's what it's going
scary,
to take.
but I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. The work I do is pretty deep. At least the initial work.
Yeah.
Once they do that, then the rest is fun. But I would say across the board, people, I start getting them to breathe and look deeper, and they're like, "Oh shit, here we go." But within a week, all of a sudden, they're feeling like they're on the adventure of their life
Hmm.
because they're exploring themselves. They understand themselves. Just really, they're thrilled to understand and recognize where they come from, who they are, how they can change that. And oftentimes, even within the first hour call, because they have in-person and Zoom calls, I'll walk them through and they begin to understand everything that's going on with them, and all of a sudden they have hope. It's like, I'll have them finish the sentence. I'm beginning to realize this might work. I'm beginning to realize, and there's this smile that comes. It's like, oh my God, it's happening now. Yeah, I mean, the deeper work that I do takes about 2 months, and then
Mm.
everybody got things cleaned up. They've taken care of all the basics. They have all the tools that they need to continue to grow, and it's an exciting adventure rather than this scary thing that they might have to do. And then we go into, I have a 9 month program that is more, okay, now let's integrate that into your personal and professional life, and let's take you from CFO to CEO. Let's take you from micromanaging your 5 organizations to bringing in people who we can put into those CEO positions so you can be focused on what you want to be doing and making more money.
Love it. I think that's what we all want. We just, a lot of us don't get there, right?
Well, we let our fear run our life
Yeah.
rather than, our potential. So, yeah.
Our fear, our ego, our, yeah. Ron, we're going to change gears. I really appreciate all of this. We're going to change gears. Got to kind of start to wrap up here. What's a favorite book? Well, first of all, you've got several best-selling books. Can you give us those titles?
If I cheat, I can. Yeah. Overscheduled by Success is the first one, and that really gives you the big picture of what you need. It was kind of written for a friend of mine. You kind of want to have a target person you're writing the book for, and
Mm.
extraordinary person, he's a billionaire and very successful. But he had these dreams. He wanted to be doing this. He wanted to be doing that. But he was so caught in regurgitating the success that he already had that he never had the time to really be doing what he wanted to be doing. And so
Oh, interesting.
Overscheduled by Success really shows people how they can take control of their life and really be focused on creating the inspired life that they're looking for. The second one is really about excuse me, yeah, the ins and outs of mindfulness. It's a year-long journal where there's weekly exercises that they'd be doing, and what they're doing is learning to breathe and be present. It's really shifting their mindset. The initial work, they really shifted from into being much more conscious human being, but that the mindfulness really allows them to integrate it into all aspects of their life and practice it, because you're literally, the work that I'm doing, I can talk about it in lots of ways, but what I'm really doing is neurologically rewiring their brain and giving them access to integrated whole brain thinking and something I call big mind, which is when they learn to quiet their mind and let the information come to them.
Mm.
And the third one is more just, uh, sorry, I should know these by heart, I suppose, but transformational leadership. And so it really lays out the different stages of leadership. And you had asked earlier, is it a God-given gift, or is it, no, it's really just, are you willing to take that next step? Most people go into mid-level leadership, where they're an expert or an achiever trying to accomplish something, and they stop there. I think it's 70% of leaders don't ever move past that, not because they're not capable. It's just that inner fear level we've been talking about, the discomfort with change.
Yeah.
But about 10% of leaders begin to go into the higher levels, post-conventional leadership levels, where they really are more conscious, more cooperative, more collaborative, more capable of strategic, um, thinking, and that's where they're accessing literally. They're going from that left brain logical that they grew up with to integrated whole brain thinking. The forebrain has taken over the CEO position of
Mm.
their life rather than the emotional center, the amygdala. And so all of a sudden you have a big picture. You have the logical, linear, optimal path to success of whatever your highest intention is or project that you're working on might be. And then people, if they're willing, and this is a scary one for them because they're coming from that efforting and trying left brain, is okay, now just breathe and quiet your mind and now put out what it is you're looking for and watch it come in. And so you're accessing it, in a whole different way, but well, as the clients who use it, yeah, they go, yeah, it gives me the agility and the ability to function in this rapidly changing world on a
Hmm.
level that others just don't have, and so all of a sudden they're, and all of my all of my graduates seems like the truth is they're working a lot less. They're getting
Yeah,
a lot more done, but they're working a lot less because they're so much more effective and efficient in what they're doing.
that sounds like a dream. Um, so other than your own books, then what's a book you can recommend to our listeners?
I think a great one is Daniel Goleman wrote Emotional Intelligence back in '96 and wrote a book, Optimal, recently. And it's really a collection of all the research of what is, what successful leadership and successful organizations, look like nowadays. And so it allows people to really go, oh, yeah, look at this, look at all the statistics behind this. That allows them to trust it more. That allows them, gives them permission to actually begin to explore those changes that they see others having and enjoy the success that comes with that. So Optimal by Daniel Goleman.
Awesome. And then last question, what are your three pillars of wealth creation?
Consciousness is everything to me. Your level of consciousness determines how you see, how you experience, and how you react to everything that comes into your life. So, if you feel stuck, that just means you need to breathe and move into a higher state of consciousness. So, yeah, your level of consciousness determines your level of thinking, your level of perception, your level of creativity, your level of accessing wisdom, if you will. And so that's certainly a pillar because, you can try an effort and be scurrying all about, but without that, you're passing up opportunity after opportunity,
Mm,
and having that consciousness is one thing, but you also have to have a clear intention. What is my highest intention? What is it that I want to aspire to in my life? And that's kind of my compass heading, being a boater, if you don't mind my analogies. It's like I can go through a fog bank and still know what direction I'm going in. I can go through challenges and issues and ups and
yeah.
downs, but I still know where I'm going and I'm still focused on that and optimally performing to create that. And then just so being conscious enough, knowing where you're going, and then having a platform, you know, a vehicle, if you will, that's going to take you there. So for me, it's like, yes, I want to create a more conscious world. That's my highest intention. But what am I going to, what's the vehicle? Oh, well, I'm going to, you know, take people into higher levels of leadership, guide them into that so that all of us can be more successful. So if you're not clear on those three things, then you're kind of just bumping around in the dark.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so the wealth comes from that. I
Yeah.
recently was offered an opportunity to create, a coaching program for international, be thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So that means I'm going to be training coaches who will be using all the materials that I know work so well, and they'll be helping all these different people. So all of a sudden, there's not just me, there's all of these people making a difference in the world. So
Yeah.
that wouldn't come to me if I hadn't done what I've been doing.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Love it. Well, look, really appreciate you being on the show. This has been really valuable for me, for the listeners. I know I'm going to get your books and dive into them. So, Dr. Ron, really appreciate you joining us on the show. Appreciate your time. And yeah, you just last question is
Okay.
how can our listeners get in touch with you? Website, where they get your books, all that kind of good stuff.
Actually, the website's good. It's I think it's ronstotts.com, ronstotts.com. And there's some really good free information, and I can begin that inner journey just by answering these certain questions. Some are entrepreneurial, some are personal, and they can find the books and all sorts of other platform materials that I've
Yeah.
created through the years. But yeah, that's a good way to go.
Great. Well, Ron, you have a fantastic rest of the day, and take care.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out, and we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.